transgender, dog. But Naya said, well, the reason why I don't want to fuck with the Democrats is because they're advocating men being in the restroom with women. We understand, fam. But at some point, black people, we got to get back into black business. All of this shit is a distraction. We worried about white men and dresses and, you know what I'm saying?
It's not just white men and dresses, but...
Yeah, but we worried about, what I'm telling you is, dog, the reparations was paid to everybody but black people. And we sit here singing Kumbaya on a holiday that acknowledges the black Holocaust in a country that never wanted to pay for it. So I don't want to talk about Greg Abbott and transgenders. Y'all want us to vote Democrat and be for Donald Trump, but what has Donald Trump done for black people? I keep asking Nye the same thing. If the black Democrat is dumb, why you keep voting Democrat, y'all? You got to tell me the benefit of black people voting Republican. And the truth is, today on this,
there is no benefit.
I have not heard a great argument that says black people should become.
Let me ask you a question.
King, I'm gonna tell you this.
Hold on.
Go
Guys, give me 2 seconds. I just want to ask King one question, and I'm gonna be listening in. King, if we could push a button today and distribute reparations, what does that look like to you? And just you, what's reparations?
Reparations? You said, what are they?
Payment, but what's the monetary amount? How much we
Listen,
pay?
bro, there's already a monetary amount by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and you got Bob Johnson. They already put a number on it. To be honest, JB, I'll be honest with you. JB, I think we will be able to have a better conversation, and it will be an even conversation, and we wouldn't have to blame white people no more.
So
because if reparations comes down the pipeline,
what's the number?
If reparations comes down the pipeline, who do you blame now? Now we can have an even discussion. Now we can have a legitimate discussion, JB. We don't need a fucking holiday. That's all I'm saying, JB. So I'll send you the paperwork, JB, to your phone. But then this stuff is already typed up, bro. But the thing is, when brothers like Ta-Nehisi Coates, I hope I'm saying his name wrong, but when he went before Congress and he was talking about reparations, who did they put against him? Another black man. That was a Caribbean black man who said, I don't think you should get it. And all these white guys are looking. You should look this shit up tonight, JB. I'm going to send you the link. All these white guys are just sitting there looking. It's two black men argue with each other about reparations. It's sad, JB, real talk. But I'll send you the paperwork, bro, because I want you to get that number. I want to give it to you, bro, because I want you to see it. Man, Bob Johnson, he used to own BET. He already got his case laid out, Ta-Nehisi Coates. So the number's already there, bro. And I agree with the...
Thank you. Rob, how you doing? Happy Juneteenth.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Okay, I got a quick question for you. From what I'm gathering, and let me know if I'm sorry, real quick, I just got a quick question for King based on his point. From what I'm gathering, your point of voting Democrat, not voting Republican, is your main point is reparations. But blacks have been voting for Democrat for over 60 years, and they haven't given you shit. So when are you expecting them to fall in line and give you guys what you want? If it hasn't happened in 60 years, with your guys.
This nigga talk like he not black.
No. Let him cook, bro. Let him cook. So the thing is, we said earlier, hold on one second. We said earlier, black Americans started voting Democrat in the 1930s to 1960s because Democrats finally started supporting civil rights and economic help while Republicans shifted towards conservative white voters. Why the switch? Democrats eventually backed equality while Republicans chased racist white voters instead. What I'm saying is, brothers, I believe that the black Democrat is smarter than the black Republican if you can't show me any benefit of us switching to the Republican Party. That's all I'm saying, brother. Because the thing is this, I gave you the reason why black people switched to Democrats. Now, you got to tell me more than just Donald Trump being the first orange president with a toupee why we should vote Republican. That's all I'm saying, bro. And nobody can tell me the benefit. That's all I'm saying, Steve. But go ahead.
We gave you a bunch of benefits. It's just you didn't accept them, which is fine. I mean, no harm, no foul there. But again,
I'm saying the Republican Party should do something. The Democrat Party had to do something to get the black vote.
See, you're suggesting that people have been voting because of reparations, and that's not why people vote Democratic. So like, and that's. But you said that I just seen it in the chats. You just said Democrats. We've been voting Democratic the last 60 years, and we hadn't got reparations. That's not why we vote for Democrats.
No, that's
King actually laid it out for you.
Rob.
No, King. No. We started voting Democratic largely during FDR. Let's keep it a beam. Prior to FDR, we didn't vote Democratic heavily. A lot of people think we started voting for. People think we started in the 60s. It was actually in the FDR period. So we start there. Again, me and a couple guys about 5 months ago, we went through modern legislation for the past 50, 60 years to see if it was any. And I'm not talking about a bill that a Republican signed that was pushed by Democrats initially. I'm talking about a Republican-led legislation that specifically aimed at courting the black vote. Is nothing that came around until Trump mentioned something called the opportunity zone thing, which, to be honest with you, if you don't make enough money to reach into the capital gains bracket, you're not even qualified for the opportunity zone shit. So the vast majority of us don't make that kind of money to even see capital gains taxes. So we wouldn't even be affected by that. So when King says that there's actually no benefit, there's no like that the Republican Party has not courted the black vote. And if y'all say they have, and I'm talking about in mass, I'm not talking about the individuals and any of you people that are black that vote Republican, I don't have a problem with that. Vote your interest. I'm talking about your individual interest. But if you're voting individual interest, you need to stay out of the general conversations. Because in general conversations, the Republican Party has not shown us that they care about our interests in the last 60 years. I'm not saying that the Democratic Party cares about us like anymore, but they have shown that a lot of our interests matter to them. That's why they continue to get the vote. It's that simple.
So let me ask you this: if a lot of their interests, if a lot of your interests matter to the Democrats, why do blacks still have the same concerns, and why are blacks have the same criticisms and the same complaints that they had 60 years ago? I would expect, in my mind, in my rational mind, that if you switched over and started voting for this party because you started seeing things in your life, and a lot of the problems that you had 60 years ago, you wouldn't have today.
That's the point that I wanted to highlight.
You're failing to mention how government works in America, see? All right, so we do have a federal government, but we have state governments. You get what I'm saying? We have multiple jurisdictions. It's not simple as saying, and this would be assuming that for the last 60 years, it's been a Democratic majority in all facets of government, and it hasn't been. So when you make these kind of assertions, that's what you get. Like, look at, I'll give you this, because we just talked about my state, and I'm going to land on this. I swear to God, I'm going to land on this. This is happening in my state right now. Trump is calling the Texas legislature, Texas government, saying, hey, man, y'all need to go ahead and start redistricting now, because we know we about to blow these fucking midterms with this bullshit that I've been pulling. So let's start redistricting. Although we just redistricted maybe about a year ago, and that's not how things work. But they're already trying to interfere into those processes. You got gerrymandering, you got redistricting, you got these type of things that happen. So again, it's clear that a lot of people don't understand basic civics in America, and that's fine. That's not my problem, but that's just what it is. It's not that simple. And shout out to Adams. Happy Pride Month, Adams. Bitch ass nigga.
Real quick question for Rob, and I'll be done. Rob, what has a Demic in the past 60 years, since LBJ, since the Civil Rights Act, what gripes has the Democratic Party fixed for black people? Because when I go to Baltimore, when I go to Compton, when I'm in Detroit, when I go to DC, and I go to black neighborhoods where it's democratically ran, I still see the towns and the neighborhoods are dilapidated. The school systems fucking suck. Like, these black kids' education are fucking horrible. And Republicans and white people have not been in there running these cities for decades. It's been black Democrats. What has the Democratic Party given to black people to help their current situation? Because when I see it, it still looks like it seems like it's not progressive.
All right, this is all I can tell you on this, man. You would have to look into every city individually. You can compare poverty rates from 1960 to 2025. You can compare crime rates, things of that nature. I get your point. A lot of things haven't improved for a segment of black people. I understand that there's a thing called generational poverty. Just like there's a thing called generational wealth, there's generational poverty. There are people whose grandparents were in poverty in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and their children inherit poverty and so forth. So that's what happened. These are segments of black communities. Now, what I do know about cities like DC, Detroit, Baltimore, even Compton, let me not say Compton, but the other three aforementioned cities, I do know that there's concerted effort by people to try to improve those cities. I know this to be fact. So, I mean, all I can tell you on that end is that it's not as simple as saying that the Democrats need to fix this. You as well as I know that a lot of this comes from the private sector, this comes from our community, and it comes from local government, state government, funding, things of that nature. So again, I would go to you and I would ask if you could show for the last 60 years. Hold on, what did he say? Somebody said I'm sending Rob a golden rope. I just seen that. Man,
you believe that? Are you not seeing this? That Adams is joking around about a lynching and hanging in the chat? But that's too far.
Man, Moose, it's all good. Moose, he black though. So, and let me get off my point. He don't even know he gay. He a punk ass dude that come on this app drunk half the time. He come in certain spaces with black people and he try to act like he's more favorable to our opinions. Then he comes into spaces like this and he speaks like this. He a punk. So, like, that's just what it is, man. I ain't got no respect for no nigga like that. Wouldn't give a fuck about what he's saying. He wouldn't put no rope around my neck. I'm from Texas. Come try it, bitch. Yeah, come try it. See what happened to you. They gonna send your bitch ass back to California in a box fucking with me, hoe ass nigga. So we ain't stunting that shit. Bitch ass nigga, I'll be at work tonight.
My question is that when we talk about reparations, which number one is what I think is that instead of giving reparations to black people, because you're not going to get it. You guys saying that white supremacy still exists, that white people are still racist, that's institutionalized and the system itself is against you. Well, guess what? That system's not going to give you a dime then. Just so you know. If you think the system's racist, that system's not going to give you a dime. But what I think that we should do is that for Juneteenth, we should give every black person the day off. White people have to work for money. Black people get the day paid off, and I think that should be good enough.
So you think one day paid off is good? Listen, I like you, but a nobody white boy can't tell me what we can't get. You haven't even done well for yourself. I would love to see. I would love to see how well you've done with your white privilege. You can't tell me what we can't get, family. Okay, you've made a lot of good points, but that's where your point stops. Okay.
Well, I mean, asking Daddy Government for money is not going to work.
I got you, Keegan. I got you. One thing Hillary Clinton said, I agree with. I keep telling JB. She said, "I don't believe you change laws and minds. I believe you change laws and policies. You don't change hearts and minds. You change laws and policies." So as long as you keep fighting for change, that's how it happens. I'm sure our ancestors were told things would never happen. Things would never come. But they absolutely do. If I lived by your ideology, I would have never signed a death jam. I would have never signed a multi-million-dollar deal with my brother before he passed away. My blood brother. Family, I don't believe anything you say because this is the thing. This is not a handout. This is a debt that's owed. This is a debt that's owed. So I absolutely believe before we leave here, black people will be paid for the original sin that has been committed here in the United States. It's old, family, and I believe we should continuously fight for it. And shout out to Jewish people. I love y'all because y'all fought for y'all shit. I like that.
Are you saying that
I love people that stand up for their ancestors. This new generation, you become so new, you don't even know your history no more. Maybe that's why you're so gay. You're nothing like your father, are you? Because for some reason, we think we're better than our ancestors, when truthfully, they're the ones that paved the way. So for me, brother, until I leave this earth, I'll continuously fight and I'll continuously speak for the Black Holocaust, saying that we deserve reparations. Our people absolutely do, bro. The wealth gap is proof that Black people have got the short end of the stick here, family. That's why I'm saying I can't be a Republican. I don't even see it. And I like Donald Trump. I like Garfield the cat. I like Trump. JB, you know that. I've been saying I like Trump. But, bro, what is Trump doing for Black people? He freed Larry Hoover and Kodak Black. Thank you.
King, question for you, because you said that Black people fought for their freedom. How many Black people fought in the Civil War? Do you know?
I do not know.
Less than 10% of the Black population fought for the Civil War.
What percentage of America is Black people? What percentage do Black people represent?
Well, at the time, it was around 180,000 Black men served in the Union Army. Of course, the Confederate Army did not allow Black men to serve until the last month of the war, which they said that there's no true approximate number. They know it was without less than 1,000.
Right, and I'll tell you something. You have to ask yourself, since the Civil War was never about freeing slaves, why did they need those Black soldiers on the front line? You were losing. Black people fought for their own freedom.
They did. They got land. They got land and money. The ones who fought, fun fact, they got land and money. I don't know if you guys know about what type of, it wasn't really called a reparation at the time, but it was called the Black Loyalists. During the American Revolutionary War, we're getting land in Canada and parts of Northern America for their acts of service.
Beautiful.
And then if you're willing to fight, we were willing to pay you for it.
Beautiful. So my thing is, I have a book called 7 Little White Lies. That's how I learned about Abraham Lincoln not really wanting to free the slaves. That's how I learned about the Civil War and the lies that have been told to us, to where we really believe Abraham Lincoln is like something to be revered. Like Black people that fight for their own freedom. The United States was losing the Civil War. You were losing. The Civil War was about keeping the states a part of the Union, right? So once I start researching and looking at this stuff, I'm like, damn, we've been lied to 1,000,000 times. You get what I'm saying, brother? So for me, the real elephant in the room is, why are some white people scared for Black people to get reparations? That's the real elephant in the room. And for Black people that are against reparations, what are you scared of? If Black people are so dumb, they know nothing, they're so ratchet and ghetto, why are you afraid of Black people getting reparations? Why does that hurt you? Why do you feel like on the stage you have to sit here and say, you'll never get it? What, do you fear a Black Messiah? Do you fear a Black revolution? What is it? Because I just don't understand. Like, if JB was owed something, I would say absolutely give it to him, because I'm not scared. What are you scared of?
Hey, put
This
me in
Keegan
queue,
sits here and
please.
says he's scared of the ratchet. Keegan said he's scared of the ratchet Black boy. He's scared of the boys that's drilling outside. Reparations might solve the problem. What are you scared? What are you scared of? He might take your job. What are you scared of?
King, have you ever heard of the Christian? Have you ever heard
King,
of the
Sean B,
Christian
put
saying-
me in queue. I want to go next.
Yeah, real quick. King, have you ever heard of the Christian saying that God will not bless those who have not conquered their inner demons? Right? God will not bless you with wealth if you have not disciplined financially yet. Right? Should we bless Black people who are ghetto and ratchet with money for them to just spend it all on white people?
Ghetto and ratchet.
So hold on a second. So are we saying that all
Whole room heard that, right?
shouldn't get on? Absolutely not. Hold on a second. And you mean to tell me God didn't bless a bunch of white people that are super demonic? Get the fuck out of here. What are we talking about? Hold on a second. Wait a minute. I'm gonna prove the point. Are we saying that slaveholders weren't paid reparations? Slaveholders. Let's talk about the evil. You got Diddy on the stand right now for human trafficking. Let's talk about the evils of the slave trade. Are we going to say that slaveholders weren't compensated for their losses, but not to enslave people? So, brother, this using God to cover up corruption, I'm not buying it. I know that the Bible was tampered with by government officials, brother.
No, I was just
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. That was the dumbest shit I ever heard anybody say.
It was a comparison of analogy to show you a quote just to compare the situation of should you receive blessings if you do not know what to do with these blessings. That's the point. Whether or not you agree with it, that's fine. But I'm just trying to make the point of should we give blessings to individuals? And this is what a lot of black people I've heard on this stage saying that some people may not deserve reparations. Maybe it deserves to go in a form of a fund because these people will not and should not have that amount of money given to them right away because they'll just blow right through.
Listen. If I didn't know any poor white people that would trailer park trash in the Midwest, I would say your point would be accurate. Does every white person have financial literacy? Get out of here, brother. Just say you're scared of black people getting money. Okay.
Hold on, Keegan. I can actually help your point. This is the one time, the only time, that I will agree with Keegan, but I understand the energy that he's coming at it with, because a lot of people, the average person, isn't really educated as to why Black Americans are the way that they are in current, like the modern generation. And then Sig, he's on stage, he discussed a little bit about how the older generations had more class. And anybody can look this up. There was a whole shift in the media and the control of media, and they strategically created this really, degenerate culture that a lot of Black Americans adopted and were brainwashed in. And then even the public education system, I am a witness. Even when I was in school, they did not give Black Americans the same attention that they gave the immigrants or the immigrant children, or even the white people. That is a thing. And I hear you, Keegan. I hear the energy that you're coming at. I'm just adding like the reason that a lot of those people are in the predicaments that they're in, but not too long ago,
didn't I throw you out? Didn't I throw you out before? I don't know how the fuck you got back in there. Okay.
You did. When you make a new room, anyways. But yeah, like let's really like focus on that, because I don't think anybody in here is actually like trying to insult the other group, but can we like acknowledge the realities of why the people are the way that they are? And that's why, hold on, I'm gonna land super soon, 1 second. Okay. But that's why there is a need for not only reparations, but some sort of rehabilitation. We've kind of taken, and I see them, like we've kind of, these people need to be re-raised, basically. And I know it's gonna sound awful to people, but that's just what it is.
Okay, hey yo. Let me say this real quick. Black people, you got to stop it. White people got you brainwashed out here, man. Listen to me. 246 years, black people, hold on a second, were enslaved. We understand reparations was given to slaveholders, Japanese victims, Holocaust survivors, even Wall Street. Did they have to take a financial literacy class? Why does, when it come to black people, we got to jump through every motherfucking hula hoop to just get some money. If it's owed to me, give it to me. But when it comes to white people, we got to take financial literacy classes. We need a motherfucking trust. We got to jump through a hula hoop of fire. What's going on, family? And then to hear a black woman sit up here and justify this shit, you the problem. You need to get your ass on. There's something wrong with you. Something wrong with you.
King, listen to what you just said, King. You said survivors and victims. No, Nathan, real quick. King, you said survivors and victims. What person today living is a survivor and a victim of slavery? Zero. That's where they're coming from with the argument of reparations, bro.
But you're saying there's not a downstream impact of slavery? Hold on 1 second. Once again, you got to listen to me. For 246 years, black people were enslaved, forced to build this country's wealth without pay. Then came Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, systematic theft of land, labor, and opportunity. The U.S. paid slaveholders for their losses, but never the enslaved. It compensated the Japanese Holocaust survivors, Wall Street, never Black America, for centuries of legalized robbery. The racial wealth gap today That's the receipt for reparations. Come on, brother. Let's use our minds. Use our minds.
Well, King, how do you figure out who gets paid?
Hold on. King, listen to what you just said. This is a false narrative that's being pushed. Built this country. Hello, half the country didn't enslave black people. Half the country fought for black people to be free. So how did the North get so prominent? How did the North get so profitable and wealthy when they didn't have slavery? So when you push this narrative that this country, no, half the country didn't enslave black folks. And actually, once you got to that side of the half side of the country, you automatically had your freedom and you couldn't go back to being enslaved. They actually put it and still laws to protect you from being taken back into slavery. So come on, man.
Brother, I don't know what you're talking about the country. I'm talking about the U.S. The U.S., the United States, the government, the same government that said in the Dred Scott decision that black people were not, and this is the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, that declared black people free or enslaved were not U.S. citizens. That United States of America.
Name me one black hell in the North, King. Can you name me one black hell that existed in the North?
I read the whole thing too.
Let me tell you something.
We don't have no rights.
One thing I like about white people, they know how to stay on code. A lot of y'all, bro, y'all done got so washed, y'all done got lost in the sauce, man. And y'all believe a lie, bro. You know what I'm saying? Bro, you know what black folks went through. How the fuck you from Detroit talking like this, man? Cut it out, bro. Y'all know black folks do everything. You know, I look at it, right? I look at it. Obama had to walk right, talk right. The nigga had to do backflips in the sand, learn how to talk slow and everything. Donald Trump get up there sounding like a backyard.
Obama ain't did shit for nobody black.
Y'all motherfuckers voted for him to steal shit from the ass.
This is popcorn style. King, apparently you're mad right now, and I don't know why you're on a diatribe right now. King, I know you're being but why you keep going off right now? You can give anyone else a chance?
Wait, who's talking? Let King finish what he's saying, please.
Nah, because he triggered. I like that. You know why, nah? I'm going to tell you why I like it. I'm going to tell you the cheat code. I'm learning to love the reaction to the truth. Because if it wasn't real, why would you be so triggered? You know what I'm saying? So, I ain't even tripping. Let him go.
I'm not sure Everybody mute up. Thank you. Because I've been sitting there listening. Sean, mute up. Like, I don't even want you on my stage. I'm giving you some respect, even though you don't show me the same respect in return.
I'm sorry. Publicly.
Okay. Shirt, how you doing, Shirt King?
She sound pretty, too.
I'm gonna say it. JV.
What's up, Nathan? All right, everybody. Let me just say hello to my friend. Shirt King, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You don't come to stages often, so what I like to do is pass you the mic, and I'm going to pass it back to King when you're done.
I appreciate it. So it's just quick. I talk like you talking to a 5-year-old. I know some of y'all more educated and shit. If you knew it, not just white people, anybody that's like fighting against reparations and shit. If you knew a person whose family was kidnapped, whose grandparents was kidnapped. Let's just go back 100 years. This individual person, their family for the last 100 years was kidnapped, killed, and raped. Would you drop them in the world and be like, shit, they should be okay? Or would you be like, damn, like, it's kind of fucked up? That's the same.
That's a good question. Run that good question.
Right. And I'm going to give you an answer to that. Yes, it's the same reason why on the reverse side, when someone commits a crime, we don't make their kids serve that sentence for that. We say, hey, it stops here, and then we're going to fucking
Brother said, listen, man, it wasn't just slavery. It's Jim Crow, black laws, right? Like, my family go way back, and I was blessed to have my grandparents and great-grandparents born in their 30s when I was growing up, right? And it said the dramatic experience from my grandfather, right, growing up in Jim Crow was horrific. I mean, they was just looking for black people. He used to run from the police, hide in the attic, and call for his brother Charles and stuff like that. These dramatic experiences and terrorism, right, the country that you're born in is supposed to protect you, but it failed, it didn't. That's a call for reparations to repair, right? It just doesn't come in the form of one payment. You know, and those type of dramatic experiences all led up to my grandpa was passing away, running from the policeman. The stories he told me, he was delusional, at the end of his life. He's screaming out, Charles, Charles. That's how dramatic and serious these things were. And on top of that, you getting drafted into the military, right? And you're like a second-class citizen underneath Jim Crow to go be forced to fight, not a choice, be forced to fight in World War II, to come back and have unequal rights. That should be paid. Not just about slavery, but for Jim Crow too, right? And it should be reversed. When you go around this country,
Nathan, you want reparations? Tell me what they look like. Like, is it money? Is it land? Is it taxes? Is it school? What is it?
It's all of those things. It needs to be an entity, and it's not just only just for the government to pay into, but it also be for some people who want to give donations to this entity. It should be in forms of education, land education, and a true repairman and study, and it shouldn't be like one payment, it should be multiple payments.
Robert Johnson said,
take care of black people forever.
JB, Robert Johnson, BET founder, he looking for $14 trillion for reparations for slavery. Look it up. Now, this is the thing, right, with Sid. And it's so funny to the brother because he went through some shit and he moves away from the ghetto. Now he overlooks what black people go through. But my girl's grandmother, who was a maid, who passed away, when the people she worked for would come to her house, do you know she would tell her husband, move the Mercedes, park it somewhere else? Because she was scared that they would see her Benz. Bro, there's a war going on outside, my man. You don't even know why you got caught up in a storm in Detroit, do you? Do you know the history? You don't even know.
Did you do the same thing to white people, King?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second, fam. There's a downstream impact of things we've been through. And I believe that the brother Sig overlooks that. Because what does he do? He takes his own anecdotal experience and he magnifies it so big. And I'm just like you do when you're anti-black as a black man. But he can't understand as a descendant of slaves that the reparation could never pay you for the Black Holocaust. You don't even know where you're from, King. What are we talking about? I know, hold on 1 second. I know people's grandmothers and grandfathers that can't read, bro. Can't spell, my brother. What are you talking about, bro?
King, you don't want anything, man.
Hold on 1 second. I got time. Hold on 1 second.
All right, guys, hold on. Let me talk.
I want to tell my brother Steve.
Okay, let me just jump in for a second. King, let me jump in for a second. So I moved you down, Sean, because I don't know what's going on with you lately, bro, but your mic control is out of control. So you know how I run my rules, man. Respect the space. This is not about you and your white privilege today. These two gentlemen are having a conversation. You know I'm going to get you in. Just take a breath. Thank you. Yeah.
No, let him in, bro. I was just saying, I hope that one day the brother can actually love himself again. Because I would never deny him his story. Love is understanding. I understood his story. But he can't even understand what his parents and his grandparents went through. I do not believe his grandfather and grandmother would like you sitting on his stage doing this, my brother. I don't even know. Why do you feel like you need to do this? Like, are you getting a cookie from a white person or something? Like, I don't understand, bro. You know the history of what happened, bro. You know that black people deserve reparations. We're the fucking descendants of people that were enslaved, bro. Here we are. I'm from Cleveland. I'm from Detroit. And the country you in don't even like you. The country you in said you weren't even. Look at the Dred Scott decision, bro. Look it up tonight, bro. All I want you to do, bro, do your research, bro. Do your research. Because this is the thing. You can talk like Garth Brooks all you want to. Kanye told you, you're still a nigga in the coop. You'll see.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Again, it's an ad hominem attacks. Notice our side doesn't go to personal attacks. When you talk about anecdotal stories, bro, you've been giving your anecdote through your record label, through your career. You've been giving anecdotes all day. Not one person on our side has dismissed your anecdotes. We've understood that, hey, he's going to see things through a lens differently because of how he was raised. But again, you're making the assertion that I don't love myself and I don't love black people and I don't understand where it came from. Again, I've sat and I've listened to my grandparents. I've sat and I've listened to my great aunts and my great uncles. Even hearing from them, they weren't bitching and complaining and asking for handouts and begging for handouts the same way these Negroes are doing today that haven't been through shit. Hold on 1 second, Nathan. 1 second. So again, this is where I'm getting it from. Because when I look back at my family who actually went through Jim Crow and went through all that shit, my grandmother, I was going through her shit when she died. I found 2 fucking teaching degrees, a bachelor's and a fucking master's, and I found 3 fucking cosmetology certificates. And this was back in the 40s and 50s, bro. She was able to accomplish this in the 40s and fucking 50s. So what was holding her back? What was keeping her? Why every time, I heard my grandparents talking, my great-grandparents talking, her brothers and sisters, I never heard them talking about reparations and white people owe us this and we was going through this. No, it was like, hey, shit sucks, but fuck that. We're not going to let it fucking hold us down. We're going to still keep fucking thriving.
My brother said, here's the reason why, man. Not all my grandfather, he's maybe different, but the rest of them, man, it's like the beaten white syndrome. Right, when you get beaten down so badly, the thought of them repairing it and you deserving reparations is unfathomable. Right, it's just like they're just lucky just to come out of Jim Crow. And I talked to them plenty of times, and we just thankful that the white man got his foot off our necks. Right. So those type of concepts that you're talking about, like reparations, is because they've been beaten down so bad, and it's to the point that they don't even see that they deserve it. You know what I mean? They're just having a thought process in their mind.
Can I just answer really quickly? Wait, please. I've been waiting to speak. I promise you I'll make this quick. I just wanted to answer JB's question about what would reparations look like, right? And to highlight some points, JB, I think folks have been saying cash payments, and I agree with that. I think reparations would look like cash payments to close the black-white wealth gap. I also think, most importantly, what I would love to see is land grants, allocation of land, kind of inspired by that unfulfilled 40 acres and a mule promise. I'd also like to see the government support land banks, restoring stolen land from restoring stolen land property to descendants of, slaves, foundational Black Americans. I also don't see a problem with reparations in the forms of, housing initiatives. Here in Illinois, in Evanston, they had that $25,000 initiative for residents affected by past housing discrimination. I also think some social programs in the form of tuition-free education could be kind of cute as a form of reparations. Also, adequate healthcare access to tackle the racial disparities in medical, in the medical industry that Black folks face. A national apology would be cute too, perhaps, from the federal, the government acknowledging some of these historical injustices. And then we could also go through a lot of administrative framework that would address these things. But primarily, I wouldn't mind to see reparations payouts in the form of land grants, housing initiatives, and free education. I'm done. Y'all can have it.
So, quick question to JB's point, and I think Zig's point. So Nathan and I hear you, but how is it executed? How does the government pay out generations and how is it determined? Do you have to prove your birth certificate lineage? How is it paid out for generations and generations to come? Has always been my. I've never been against it. I've always been really just befuddled on how the government would pay it out. And I agree with all that, like education, land, but how do you pay it out for generations and generations to come? I guess is my main question.
Yeah, the thing about it, Moose, is that the first thing you have to do, like in Germany, what they did, they created an agency or a specific, agency to handle these type of issues. So if you're a Jewish person who affected by the Holocaust, you can go there and make the claim, right? They look through the documents and connect the dots. Well, your benefit in the United States, but everything's been documented. And that's one of the pros about the United States. Pretty much anybody born as a Black American, right, in the 40s or 30s, right, their lineage goes back to slavery. It is real simple, right? all my grandfather is documented. So you pretty much have the organization come up with certain type of procedures, but you have to prove it, right? They verify it, and it comes in the form of a check, benefits, just like our soldiers and veterans who serve in the Army. You know, there's other groups in America that still get reparations. Native Americans still get certain benefits each month, each year. They get a check. I think Alaskan type people get some certain type of benefits. I could be wrong about that. So they have the forms of delivery.
So Nathan, I think Six's experience with his ancestors is just as valid as yours. And not everybody was struggling like that. And I mean this, I don't mean this to be disrespectful at all, but even when I hear people say like, oh, grown-ass black men were afraid of white men coming and kidnapping them and their families, like, what the fuck, you a man, fight for yourself. And if you have that mentality, I'm sorry, but there's something deeper. You kind of retarded, and you and that came from the people that's raising you, you know? Hold on. I know it's very triggering, but I'm just, listen, y'all have to understand, this story, this struggle story is not everybody's story. And that's the problem. And I see how the media is playing identity, like, what is it? Identity politics is something, with black people at large, and highlighting the struggling blacks as the black experience, but that's just not what it is. And then even in the 50s, 60s, or whatever, black people was operating so much differently. And before integration, so in the chat, I said that it wasn't slavery, because slavery was so motherfucking long ago, and so many successful black communities have been formed since then. It was integration, which was forced. And I'm not saying all white people are to blame for this, because especially the ones on this stage, they weren't even fucking born for this. But there was an effort by some sort of group that, I don't know if they were black or not, and through integration, that's where we find ourselves in this predicament where instead of black people owning their own stuff, owning their own hospitals, banks, grocery stores, other things, their own communities, through integration, they kind of tricked black people out of all of that. And they've made the systems to what we see a lot of today, which is where, you know, non-black people are in the higher positions, and black people at large, I will say, are in the lower positions. But this was a strategic attack. It was not always like this. And the misinformation of Black Americans' history to the Black Americans millennials is also a part of that plan. You feel like you basically weren't shit, but it wasn't like that.
Okay, let me like, I understand that you're young, that you don't have the wisdom to have these type of conversations.
No,
you mentioned something about
He let her finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, you made a misconception of saying that my family ended up struggling, and my grandfather, this struggle type of, misdefinition of it. I'm not going to disclose who my family is or my grandfather is, but, he was a strong man who fought through all that hell and hellfire and became uber successful. He became successful, right? But he wasn't a fool to think that other black men that grew up and his peers were lucky like he was. He almost died in World War II. I don't need to be here. But he was the lucky one. And he realized how blessed and lucky he was to survive through all the hell that he'd been through. But he was successful. So this type of thing about, it doesn't matter. Like he would say, it doesn't matter how much success that he obtained. He would have been more successful if he didn't go through the Jim Crow, and then they didn't try to constrain us. That's what I'm trying to explain, that you miss and flies right over your head. Just because you have a house, and maybe he had 8 houses, right, doesn't mean that you made it to the promised land and you fulfilled your full 100% potential. It limited, regardless of Black Wall Street or other type of things, the success you can point to, they still limited your success. Why do I say that? The core companies of this nation, Black people don't own it. We don't own the resources, the natural resource, the water, the food. We don't own the oil fields in Texas and Louisiana. We wasn't able to participate in the economic booms in America. The oil rush, the gold rush, all of these rushes, we was not able to participate. We don't own the airlines. We don't own a massive car company. We don't own really true, franchises. We don't own Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, all these type of organizations. America picks its winners and losers, and they keep choosing to not pick us. And the fact that the things that you're saying that flies over your head is a testament of what I'm saying and the reason why we need reparations. Because you fundamentally don't understand the need of why we need it. So,
let me come in.
You need it.
When you're done.
Go ahead.
Damn, why interrupt him? He cooking, man.
No, he's cooking, and I agree. No, really coming from my heart. Like land and displacement of people saying they can't live somewhere because it's a white neighborhood. There's displacement that's systematic. That's where the systematic racism is. So, like, when we were having that discussion, I definitely agree that there is some systematic racism. Now, I guess my family deserves an exemption because we didn't own slaves, and I can trace my family back historically, pictures. I can provide all the proof, the checks, and the receipts. Many of you don't have the checks and receipts that I have. I could literally provide you a whole history book of my family's history. We were homesteaders, and my family were preachers coming out of Sweden, inlay Sweden, in the mid-1600s when they came here. We never had slaves. So I guess I get an exemption from when it comes to reparations, because I don't believe that I believe reparations are definitely deserved of people that are obviously going to be whites, right? And maybe even the carpetbaggers, right? Because you remember that slaves were brought in by Black people as well to this country. If you deny that, you're completely inaccurate. So I guess we're going to have to go in systematically into every person's individual family history, if we can, to actually figure out who is responsible and who's not. Because me being white, then you're just stereotyping and saying I'm responsible for your ass when my family had no responsibility of supporting slavery, period. Done. That's all I wanted to say. That's all I've been doing.
Okay.
Hold on, let Nathan respond to that point.
Yeah, I never. The thing about how you talk about this issue, you never point specifically to Sean or somebody else and say you owe me money. It's the government allowed it. That's why the reparations due to the government that has to pay it. The government allowed these things to go on. Even in Black Wall Street, the taxes that they was paying went into the government, and they never seen the dime of them come back. Your taxes supposed to represent you. That reinvestment, when you pay the taxes, is supposed to go back into your neighborhood. But it doesn't. Even when we separated, we paid our taxes in our communities, and then didn't go back. They took it and ran off with it. This nation was created from taxation without representation, right?
I agree.
The gang in 4th of July, Black people were being taxed, and it's still happening today, to be honest with you. We get taxed without being represented. Representation is happening right now in Black neighborhoods. So these things are real. And listen, man, when I was a kid, my grandfather told me about these reparations, all these type of issues. It's a long conversation. I'm happy that it's to the point right now. Because 15 years ago, or 17 years ago, these type of conversations was extremely hard to have with anybody. But I'm glad that we're here right now.
I appreciate you, Nathan. Yeah, I definitely, there's a lot of injustices that were made. You know, I mean, in some cases, the family members that currently live today and their grandparents, and I'd say grandparents, if your grandparents are 100 years old, born in 1922, give or take, there might be that, but it would be the great-grandparents, and if those great-grandparents and beyond on this land were enslaving people and people that were part of voting and supporting things that were supporting that systematic racism that held you back, then we're going to need to dig their asses out and fucking get the money from them. But you can't hold that against today's generation. Now, today's generation, to give a better example, with how does everyone feel about college debt being totally like forgiven, and you paid your own ass through college for 6 years like I did? Okay. How does that make me feel that I had to pay, and I'm finding out now I could have literally, I want reparations. And if that was the case, that's what Biden was wanting to do, college reparations in today, right now. But I have nothing to do with what happened to the people of color. I had nothing to do with the people of color. I'm 47 years old. I had nothing to do with holding you back. I personally did not. That's unfair to say I'm responsible. What's wrong with that, King? What's wrong with that? Because you've been coming off on the table. Yes. No, I want to. I didn't do anything to oppress you, and my family's history never oppressed you.
My boy gonna cry about college reparations, man. He's passionate about this.
I'm not crying. I'm giving you right now how we're directly impacted in our generation, the people that live right now. Right now, that's all I'm saying.
Sean, hold on, wait, like, hold on. If the government, let's say, did harm to a person, right, today, don't matter, and just the government official raped her, chopped her off her leg, and the government said, okay, we're going to give this person from our tax money $20 million as the repair, and what happened. Would you have a problem with that, Sean?
No. And I want to go into the mineral. My family owns 250 acres of mineral rights in Montana. And I will say, if there was reparations, that was something where people of color were not given that opportunity to. So I could say if there was any kind of link in regards to where there was something that was where they could live, definitely where they could live, and what they could own and what they could buy, definitely was where there was an advantage there. Now, when we talk about the government, that's out of everyone's pocket. That's out of everyone's pocket. You got to remember that. Nothing is free. If it's government, that's our money.
That's our money. Yeah, it is our money and our money too that's been owed. The protection that I don't want to get down to it, but it's not going to affect you. It may be, actually, it might do a big economic boom for this country. Americans that's been here, right, when we do get the money, we're not sending it to families in Africa or some other place that have this type of connection to, send money back. No, money's going to be recirculated back into America. Full stop. Right? And it's the human thing to do. Right? It's the human thing to do. These things were horrible and horrific, and I think that once it do finally get passed, it will heal things, and this vitriol will kind of go away. It's just like a ripping off a Band-Aid, right? Once it's off, man. Let's move forward. Go ahead and pay it. It's not going to affect you. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to make life better for all Americans.
Do you think it's really going to change everyone? I don't think it's going to change. Last thing, and I will be quiet.
Hold on, let that marinate in your spirit. That brother just cooked.
He did cook.
I know your boy.
He brought the food. He brought the food.
King, you're doing a terrible job moderating right now. Period.
I'm doing a great job. I'm honest with you. I think I'm doing a phenomenal job.
No, you're not.
No, you went on a big diatribe.
King, there's no meat left. It's a charred patty. He burnt the food. It's overcooked. The alarm went off. It's overcooked. Okay, listen. Can I just say something? Because I've been listening for hours now. For hours now. You know, I've been sitting out here.
Dr. Adams, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, shout out to this black king here. While y'all complaining about racism, okay, I've been out in these streets picking cotton. Okay, my fingers hurt, my feet hurt. Like, this is crazy. Where are my reparations? So when you say that this, first of all, just because something happened to you, don't mean that you're entitled to a check. Okay, even if you fall on the job, they still have to prove that your injuries are directly tied to your inability to cultivate income. So let's get that out the gate first and foremost, okay? Just because you showed up in this world black does not entitle you to a check. So that's the first point. The second point is, even if you were said entitled to a check that was directly going to fix the issues that are wrong with Black America, how do we know that we're not being sold another bag of garbage? Because I'm looking at what is human, right? Because it's not what is human that, you know, somebody did something to you and then on a human natural basis, you owe them money. What is natural to humans is when somebody does something to you and negatively impacts you, you move on, you adapt, you learn from it, and don't end up in the same situations again. So that practically and anthropologically, it would be scientifically human. But this whole notion that there is a rubric system to the amount of oppression that should equate to the amount of money you should be compensated, that is complete man-made bullshit. Okay, it's complete man-made bullshit, and it's been weaponized, and it's been polarized to try to manipulate people into a sense of ownership of their well-earned, cultivated survival mechanisms, which is cold-hearted cash. If you have not adapted in this society, given your plight and shit that you did not live to actually go through, when the system has created laws to be able to protect your most privileged black ass in the existence of Black Americans that have ever existed on this earth, then that is your failure for survival. That is your failures of survival that I refuse, in me being out here picking cotton, to subsidize your nappy-headed failure.
So you Nathan, I'm going next. Nathan, please. One mic on me. Nathan, thank you.
After you, I gotta be Nathan, man. He was responding.
And then after it was like,
hold on, give it to him.
So you know what? You can't. You got a fair point, Nathan. You're welcome to respond. I'm gonna go. I don't want this back and forth. You're welcome to respond. I'll go after you.
All right, I'm basically just saying like this, Ray. Dr. Adams said correct issues and blase. When the bank, when you owe the bank money, Ray, Dr. Adams never talked that way to the bank and say, hey, what you gonna do with the money? You know, you just pay it. It's a debt that's owed, right? It's not anything to be fighting over. It's a debt, period. You got to pay it, Dr. Adams. And that's it. Look, I don't have like my energy levels. You know, I'm not about to be fighting back and forth with stupidity, and that is part of the reason why we need to pay reparations and actually have an education and be implemented so people can understand what it is. It's not a new concept. After World War II, World War I, Germany paid reparations. That's why they had to pay. Is the spark of World War II is because Germany was tired of paying these harsh reparations.
Chickens to great-grandparents, great-grandparents, and have them pay them.
Hold on, the brother's still talking, right? What's going on?
Yeah, even when you work, like I worked in insurance before, if I run over somebody in a car accident, that person dies. The money goes to the next of kin, just like it always has been in reparations. Even in the Japanese, when the Japanese internment camps, after they got reparations in this country, some of those people passed away, but it went to the next of kin. So it's not a hard concept, and it shows your bias, Doctor.
Damn.
King, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy.
So Nathan, man, to be honest, bro, I think you're being disingenuous. I think you could not literally believe that reparations would lead to healing in this country. It would have the exact opposite effect, and dare I say, it would lead 100% to a civil war that would rip this country asunder. That's what reparations would actually do. Now that we've got that out of the way,
this idea that, people who never owned slaves owe people who were never slaves money for slavery is offensive. It's downright offensive. Now, it's you talk about the Japanese in internment camps. The vast majority of the Japanese were the people themselves who were interned. I would love to see this evidence where you're talking about it was their descendants. And if it was their descendants, you're talking about a great minority of them. All right? And we're not talking about 10, 20 generations down the line. That's not what we're talking about. Reparations is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard. And really, it's the Marxists are the ones that are pushing this concept to try to rip apart this country. People that hate America are the ones pushing this. Moose, please, this ain't your other stages, bro. Yeah, so they're literally pushing this narrative forward. And I'm going to land right here. I've shared many a stage with Nathan. Nathan, purportedly, you're doing well in life. You've amassed a certain amount of resources. This destroys your argument for reparations. Yes, the playing field is unbalanced. Life is unfair. Water is wet. All of these things are true. But you know what? There's people that risk life and liberty every day to try to come to this country. They risk it all to try to come here because this is the land of opportunity. So instead of crying about what it is that you don't have and what happened to your so-called ancestors, how about you continue to make the best life that you have?
Was this the land of opportunity 100 years ago for black people? I'm curious. Was this a land of opportunity 100 years ago?
Go. Light has been trying to speak for a while. Light has next, and then you're welcome to bring it back, Nathan. We can't keep on letting this guy just take over the stage.
Yeah, but you gotta let him respond.
Last thing I'm gonna say, right? Listen,
he's losing the argument. That's why he's trying to shut you up, huh?
Yeah, to all the people that came here to the United States, right, when we had active slavery, that's your dumbass fault for coming to a fucking slave country and acting like you're not going to have to pay, the country not going to pay for that, right? That's like me going to Germany and bitching and moaning, oh, we got to pay reparations to the Jews still to this day. But, well, that's your dumbass for not doing research what country you're going to. They honestly knew they had slaves. If they didn't, they could have left anytime they wanted to. So that's on them. And secondly, Anthony, I live my life through honor, respect, and dignity. I don't give a fuck how much money I make and what I have. Motherfucker, you don't have to pay me. Shit, you have to pay. I don't care if I got $50 million, $100 million. Pay me, because I live my life and I die on it. Life, honor, respect, and dignity, especially to my ancestors, especially to my forefathers, that I'm willing to die for this thing. I'm not playing. You don't have to pay for what you did, period. To my family, my great-grandfathers, and all of them. You have to pay them. I don't care.
Well, take it back in blood. You ain't getting shit.
You ain't getting shit. Come on, give us some more. Because that's what you guys are stupid as hell. What you're saying and you're supporting that bullshit. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever fucking heard.
We try to give it to light. We try to conduct ourselves decent and in order. Can we give it to light right now? Light, it's on you.
Thank you. So all I wanted to say is we can either be victims or be producers. And when you're a producer, when you're useful in life and can produce, the money will come. I used to really try to empathize with a lot of people who have the same talking points that you are bringing up. And I recently made this one friend, he was all on that shit. And after observing him, I realized, You not broke because of the system. You broke because you dumb as hell and not useful to life. A lot of people were not raised well. I do think that it's sad that they took whoopings out of the schools. I used to hate my father for beating my ass. I'm Jamaican. If y'all know Jamaicans, y'all understand. But this nigga made me useful.
And I knew you were from there too. So yeah, got it. Your ancestors ain't here. That's all I gotta say.
But okay, but the point is, like, you have to be a producer. You have to be fucking useful in life. You have to be able to do something of value, and the money will come. You can be, as I said, you can either be a victim or a producer.
Did she hit her head? Is this the same goddess? What is going on? Is this the same? Like, what the hell is going on?
I stopped messing with these Americans and empathizing with them, Adam. So that's why I'm just over this.
Yo, like, I'm totally, I'm on track with you, like.
She never sounded so beautiful.
She said you got a question.
I got a question.
You sounded very good when she was I'm sorry your father did.
Nah, it's not bad. That's how you train.
No, it is bad. Listen to you talk. Go ahead, Sid.
Listen to you.
I got a question. I listen to you. And you sound like a victim. You sound like a victim. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sid.
Yes, I got a question.
From a person who subscribes to an Obama phone.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I got a question for the pro-reparationists in the room. So, first of all, there's a couple problems here with your reparations theory, because Nathan, you talked about taxpayer money. Well, guess what? Taxpayer money comes from everybody. And I'm pretty sure that if I went out and committed a crime and victimized someone, you wouldn't want to pay my restitution. Would I be right on that? Would you want to pay the restitution for a crime I committed? Nathan?
Brother, that's how we
Just answer the question. If I went out and embezzled money from a company and the judge ordered me to pay back restitution, would you mind some of that money coming out of your bank account? Would you mind that?
You gotta let them answer me why. Go ahead.
I'm asking a question.
Brother, what you're trying to say is when a government
just answer the question, bro. Can you
answer? Come on.
No, because it's either a simple yes or no. Would you be okay
paying my restitution?
Question unless he gives you time to explain.
This is what I'm talking about, the disingenuousness and dishonesty.
You're not being disingenuous because you want to.
No, I'm not being disingenuous.
Because he's going to answer a goddamn question is the problem.
He won't give him time to answer the question, bro.
It's a simple yes or no question, King. Just like when you asked me a question, I gave you a simple yes or no.
Why are you scared of him answering the question?
Because he's not going to answer. It's a simple yes or no question.
Well,
would you be okay paying my restitution for a crime I committed?
Let him answer the question, bro.
Yes or no?
If you was a non-government official, then why should I have to pay for it? So the answer is no. If you was a non-government official, but if you were, I would be okay with it.
Okay, so here's the point. Now you're talking about a taxpayer pool, which everybody pays into. So was everybody a slave owner, Nathan? Yes or no?
But everybody that if you was a black benefited from it. So correct. Everybody was not a slave owner, but they benefited from it.
Okay, what percentage of the white population owned slaves back then?
Probably 1%, if that.
See, we're talking people don't even know. No, it was 8 to 11% of white people owned slaves in America back then. So it's around 10%.
Okay.
Hold on. No. Don't guide me and direct me. That's not how this works. So it wasn't 1%, Nathan. It was around 10% of the white population owned slaves back then. How many black families? Do you know approximately how many black families owned slaves back then? How many black plantations there were? Nathan, do you know?
So you want me to look it up for you?
No, do you know off the top of your head? Do you know about? Because I do. Do you know about how many?
There should be readily available information if you're going to blame white people solely.
If you already know the answer, why ask him?
Just say.
Yeah, I'm just getting confused about your point because you asking me a lot of text questions.
Look, hold on.
But I'm aware that there were some that the government allowed.
Hold on, Nathan, hold on. I don't need any Captain Sabo. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prove a point. If someone who's advocating for reparations doesn't even know the fucking basic numbers to what they're trying to advocate for. So my point is that there are about 3,000 black families, a little more than 3,000 black families that owned slaves back then, okay? And they owned thousands and thousands of slaves among those 3,000 black families.
And why did they own slaves?
So now, hold on, Nathan, hold on, because you're having a hard time
Oh, no, he can't answer you.
Yeah, because I'm running this train right now, okay, thank you. So here's my point.
Free them, that's what I said.
So hold on, man, hold on, relax. Now y'all are triggered. So here's my point, is that you're asking 90% of the population. First of all, you have to figure out who is actually descendants of slave owners. And it was only about 10% of the population, okay? So now you got to figure out what 10% of the population descended from, what part of the population currently descended from that 10% of white slave owners. Then you got to go back and look up, okay, the black families that actually owned slaves and had plantations, they can't count in reparations either. So now we got to go back and look them up. So now what you're doing is you're saying take money from a taxpayer pool in 2025 that everybody has chipped into, the majority of working Americans have chipped into, and you're going to tax them and take their dollars now when it's a 90% likelihood they had nothing to do with slavery, didn't descend from slave owners, and you're asking them to pay up for something that they didn't even descend from, brother. So how are you going to go about figuring out who's actually descended to slave owners, both black and white, and who's actually descended to slaves? Because not every black person in this country were descendants of fucking slaves either. So how are we figuring this out? How is this?
Okay, so
you do realize that reparations wouldn't be just based on slavery, right? Like that's the start. If you kick that logic to them, that kills their whole. Go ahead.
Hold on, Rob.
Let me answer the question.
The question for Nathan. Go ahead, Nathan.
So if you add up, let's just do it this way, right? Since you want to play this type of game, right? Add up how much black people paid in taxes from the centuries, right? Add up how much money they didn't pay them. Add up how much money that they literally didn't pay them the labor costs, right? Add up how much black people were devalued on purpose and got paid less than, right? Went from Jim Crow, all other, add that up, and guess what? That adds up to, hey, it's just